L3Harris. We have Conner with L3Harris. Hey, Conner, good morning to you. How you doing today, sir?
Doing good. Good morning, Rick. How are you guys?
Doing wonderful, doing wonderful.
Hey, how you doing this morning? Hey, it's exciting to have you to bring some new information and some great stuff this morning about L3Harris. Why don't you tell us who you are and what you do there?
Yeah, so as already was mentioned, my name is Connor. I'm with L3Harris, and I am the sales manager for their driver training solutions division. So what we do basically is we create software, um, we have training solutions for drivers as well, and most importantly, as already was mentioned, we have simulators that we have created for drivers. And we've been around for a long time. We've been in this business for a long time doing the simulators, but most importantly, with the driving simulators, these are things that help increase both driver habits and efficiency. As you guys already know, with driver safety, 95% of the accidents are caused by driver error and poor decision making. And so really what our driving simulators do is they are geared towards making sure that we can teach drivers good habits and good decision making. And so that's really what they're geared towards, and that's what we do here at L3Harris.
Gotcha. Hey, Conner. So for those of you that aren't familiar with that name, the L3Harris, I was talking to Conner before the show, and we're just kind of laughing at this. And you may wonder, well, what makes L3Harris, the company itself, right, able to do that kind of technology? I mean, a truck simulator is not easy, but listen to this. If you're wondering about some of the qualifications that the company has, they were just awarded a $947 million contract to improve the B-52 self-defense. I think they probably know a little bit about technology. Hey, Conner, there's things in the truck simulator, right, that we don't want to have hands-on training. Let me give you an example. We certainly don't want to take a driver out and have a tire blown. Let's just say a steer tire blown and say, all right, let's figure this out. Not the place to do it on the road. What do you have to that kind of addresses items like that?
Absolutely. Great question, Rick. So with this, the nice thing is with our simulators, like you were saying, you are able to simulate a lot of different scenarios that really wouldn't be possible in the real world. You just can't simulate a tire blowout. You can't do these things without putting your drivers as well as the equipment in harm's way. And so really what our simulators are designed to do is they allow drivers to get this valuable experience that they really couldn't get in any other way and do it in a safe way as well. I was actually, this is interesting. I was actually talking to your director of safety the other day, Robert, and he was mentioning how one of your drivers had previously had a chance to train in one of the simulators when he was first coming up in the driving world. And he mentioned that because of the training he received in those simulators, it actually helped him nearly 10 years later when he encountered one of these situations, and he credits the simulators to keeping him safe and being able to maneuver in the situation that he found himself. And so that's really what the simulators are designed to do. They're designed to give you this hands-on experience without actually being in the vehicles themselves. Now, we always do mention that, the simulators aren't a replacement for actually driving. You still have to get out there and you have to practice in a real vehicle. However, they do allow you to gain the habits and the skills necessary for you to be effective so that when you're actually in those situations, you know what to do, you know the decisions that you should be making, and you can make them with confidence. And so that's really what the simulators are designed to do. They allow you to gain the skills and the habits necessary to be an effective driver.
I was watching some of the videos and the training videos, and it was really interesting to notice how you can incorporate not only manual transmission to automatic transmission, but different types of vehicles and apply them in the scenario that best fits what you need to be training for. That's pretty fascinating. How much do you involve other types of manufacturers to get into your training videos?
Yeah, great question. So, with it, we try to make these scenarios as lifelike as possible. And so we're going to incorporate a lot of different things from as you mentioned, different vehicles. We don't just make transport sims, we also make sims for police, for EMS, for firefighters, for waste management. And so we have a wide variety of vehicles that we can train on, different types of loads that people can use, everything from, a box to a tanker or so, and you really get the experience with the vehicles that you're actually using. Not only that, you're going to get a lot of different environments that you're going to be able to train on. So everything from city to urban to rural to mountain, desert, just we try to give you as lifelike of scenarios as possible. And when you're in these different scenarios as well, we also try to tailor them to make them seem as lifelike as possible as well. So vehicles are going to travel at different speeds because, as you guys know, on the road, not everyone drives the same. Some of us actually have training for driving and others don't. And so, you're going to encounter all these different types of scenarios within the simulator so that it is as lifelike as possible for the drivers.
Hey, Conner, when it comes to some of the situations, one big thing we talk about on the show all the time is fatigue. And what happens when you start falling asleep, when you start losing some of that awareness around you? Do you address items like that as well?
We do, and a lot of that can come in our curriculum. So if you guys don't already have a driving curriculum that you're doing, we also have that available as well that you guys can get from us. But we do teach you like the SMART method that we have for defensive driving. And part of that actually with the S, it's scan around, but it's also to talk out loud to yourself. So say it out loud. And different habits like these actually help drivers address some of these fatigue problems. When you're starting to fall asleep and, if you see something up ahead of you, like a dog or a car at an intersection, just saying things out loud actually activates a different part of the brain so that now all of a sudden you become more alert. We definitely teach you a lot of these different habits and skills with our curriculum as well as in the scenarios we have. And that's really when the simulators are going to be most effective, is when they're incorporated into some type of curriculum that has a specific objective for what you guys are wanting to be teaching. Instead of just drivers being a passive learner in the experience, the reason why simulation training is so effective is they get to become an active participant in the learning process. So instead of you just telling them, hey, this is what you should be doing, now you get to tell them, hey, this is the habits we're looking for. Now we're going to jump over to the simulator and we're going to actually have you practice how to do it. And so now that it sticks with people a lot longer than, someone who's just been told something, they're going to forget it probably within the next few days. But if someone's actually done it, now that's going to stick with them long term.
You just helped me out a little bit outside the simulators. Drive Safe Dave, he's always talking to himself. And forever, I'm thinking, because nobody will talk to him, it turns out he's trying to stimulate himself.
Yeah, not only that, it's a training process that I've learned from a long time ago, so I do appreciate it. We talked about not only behind the wheel, but you're also helping to train outside the vehicle, right? In some of the simulation processes, pretty interesting stuff when you do the pre-trip, right? You actually use different aspects, right, when you're training?
Yeah, absolutely. So we actually have our Hawkeye, which is a VR headset that people can put on, and it allows them to simulate this pre-trip inspection that they should be doing. And it's incredible technology. So it actually feels like you are standing right there next to a semi, full-size semi, and you actually get to walk around this semi and actually interact with it. So if you want to open up the hood of that semi, you can go around to the front of it, grab the hood of it, pull it open, look inside, look for the things you should be looking at, check the brakes, check the tires. You can get down on your hands and knees, see if you're missing any lug nuts or things like that. And there's a couple of different modes in this. So you have your training mode, which will actually help them. It will create different zones that they need to walk around to. And then a list will pop up of things that they should be looking for and inspecting. And so it teaches them how to get in this habit of actually doing a pre-trip inspection and what they should be looking for. And then you have your different modes as well, where you can do like an assessment so that you can see how well they've learned what they have been taught. And so really, it is an amazing way to involve drivers in this learning process and have them become active participants in it and actually do what it is that you are teaching them to do.
Yeah, I really liked one of the scenarios in which you were inspecting the steer tire and there was a bubble on the steer tire, right? So you actually see real problems happening and you get to identify them and mark them on your inspection sheet. So it's not just, hey, this is what you need to be doing. This is some of the things you need to be looking for.
Yeah, if you're out there and you have a question for Conner as well, I want to make sure that you get a chance to raise your hand or type the question to the producer so we can get that out. Hey, Conner, question for you. The pre-trip, is this like a package deal? It only comes with the simulator, or is that, can you get one without the other?
Yeah, great question. So you can get one without the other. That's always an option. If you want to buy something from us, we're never going to say no. But there always usually is a sweetheart deal for, if you want to package something together. So sometimes it is beneficial getting them together. But if you already have one, we can get you the other.
I've seen pricing on these simulators. They're not really the sweetheart, but you know what? It's like, you know what, Conner, but it really is. It's much like buying a truck. With it as well comes a maintenance package, the warranty package for the updates that comes through it. It's an investment, but when it comes to safety, when it comes to training, hey, listen, what we do believe is that it does cost money. You've got to make yourself a little bit better, and the only way to do that, the only way to train on some things are with a simulator. It's the only way you can do it. Hey, producer, we have a question out there?
Yes, we do. We got Edward Lester on the line today. Edward, what do you have for us today, sir?
Morning, Edward.
Hey, good morning, fellas. How y'all doing this morning?
Doing wonderful.
Hey, my question is I've been reading some here and there about the younger generation, attempting to get their license and everything. Are these schools going to use these simulators in order to help train these guys? Because, some of these younger generations now are not like us old school cats, It's not like what it used to be where it was actually hands-on training, from generation to generation,
Hey, Conner, did you hear that question okay?
I did. Yeah. And so that's a great question. We actually have a lot of schools now that are implementing the simulators into their driving curriculum. And so it's great. They're actually one of our bigger customers is these schools. And especially when it comes to like teaching CDL, things like that, we have our courses, which are designed to help train a lot of drivers on these different habits that are included in these courses. And so that is a big thing that people are doing nowadays. And so it makes a huge difference when they're able to have these in their classes. As I mentioned earlier, Robert, your safety director, had mentioned how one of your drivers had a chance in one of his driving schools to train on a simulator. And it does make a difference because this allows them to store these lessons and these techniques, skills that they learn in these courses in their long-term memory as they become active participants in it. And really, you can't do it in any other way because there's just, with that many students, it's hard to get out in an actual vehicle. And as we mentioned before, you really just can't simulate some of the environments or things that you want to train in a real life scenario without putting both people and equipment in danger.
Yeah, and Edward, great question, great comments on that. One thing I will say, and we've learned it right over the years from talking to a lot of old school drivers, is a lot of these old school drivers learn to drive without a license too, right? I mean, they just got out there and run, and at the end of the day, we don't want that anymore. We want to make sure we're improving everything in our industry, and there's so much, technology that I don't think you can really get away very long without running without a license, especially 14, 15, but back in the day, Drive Safe Dave, that's a lot of these folks learned that young.
Yeah, and now we get to an opportunity to not only rely on technology, but bring new ideas and new ways. Never do you want to know about jackknifing, right? But this gives an opportunity to understand it. Does it do inclement weather? I hadn't seen any of the scenarios. Do you do inclement weather, bad road conditions, accident scenes, all those real world scenarios?
Yeah, great question. So we do that for all of those things. So inclement weather, you can allow all of these different settings. So whether you want to simulate ice or snow or rain, you can do it at night or in the morning or in the evening. So you really can train all these different types of scenarios that you want to. And really, if there's not a scenario set up exactly how you already want it, you already have the scenario built into the simulation software so that you can recreate any of these situations yourself and tailor them to be exactly what you want. So if you guys have had a recent accident or something, or if you have a common problem with a different road or area on one of your routes, you can recreate that same route or scenario within the simulation, and then you can have your drivers practice on it. We had one company who, in one of their yards, had a difficult turn that their drivers were always missing, and they were banging up their trailers. And as was mentioned before, yeah, the simulators may not be cheap, but it's a lot cheaper than having to replace your equipment all the time. And that's a big thing is once people implement these simulators into their training curriculum, usually they can see anywhere from a 15 to 36% reduction in accidents. And so they start to pay for themselves very quickly as you increase both driver safety, efficiency, and that operational efficiency with how they're performing. But as I was mentioning earlier, you can create any of these different types of scenarios into the software. We already have a lot of these preset, so more than likely you're going to find something that's already pretty close to what you're wanting to train on. But like I said, if you have a very specific scenario that either you want us to create or you want to create yourself, we can definitely do that, and we can have it set up for you guys so that you can train your drivers on those scenarios.
Hey, Conner, we have one more question, but before that, I have one for you. Do you have one set up yet for that autonomous vehicle where you're just kind of sitting back right here and letting it do its own thing?
That's not what I want to know. I want to know, does it, and by the way, if you have that, I saw that setup and everything, does it all cross over with the Xbox so that I can play Call of Duty in that thing?
Hey, we have a real question for you. Hey, producer, give us that last question for the day.
Yeah, so this one's coming from Justin Hayes. So he's saying that schools typically charge a lot of money to get students in and out of these places. Have you guys seen these schools with smaller budgets able to bring in some of these simulators in order to put out more drivers, or has it typically been the more commercial places?
Yeah, that's a great question. So one of the nice things is a lot of these schools, even if they're smaller, are usually able to get some type of grant or funding, which will help pay for the simulators as well. And so if you have any questions about that, reach out to us. We can help you guys get set up so that you can, not necessarily have to take care of it all yourself. There's usually some type of funding out there that we can help you guys secure that will allow you guys to get a simulator. If it's something that you're thinking about, definitely reach out to us and we can start working with you guys in a way to figure out, how we can get you a simulator.
All right. Hey, we love rolled back pricing all the time here on BCB Live. Hey, Conner, thank you for coming on the show. Thank you for sharing some of this technology with us and our listeners, our viewers. Thanks a lot. Hey, appreciate what you do and stay safe out there, okay?
Hey, thank you guys. Take care.